This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, first, a major claim from Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump touted that the U.S. strike completely obliterated Iran's nuclear sites, linking attack to what he calls a new era of peace in the Middle East, even amid ongoing tensions from Gaza to Tehran. On the future of Ukraine's democracy, President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's willing to hold national elections, but only if there's a ceasefire, after Trump suggested Kyiv was avoiding a vote during wartime. A high-profile manhunt in the Philippines, former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldy Co and several co-accused have been declared fugitives and ordered to have their passports cancelled by the Sandiganbayan 5th Division. Meanwhile, two former aides of Vice President Sara Duterte dismissed allegations by a self-proclaimed bagman, calling the claims baseless and saying they have no connection to the accuser. Ties continue to deepen. The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin and Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro held talks to expand bilateral cooperation as Caracas faces growing pressure from the West. At the SEA Games, Team Philippines adds 3 more gold medals, with 3 of the country's athletes delivering a strong medal haul on a big day in Bangkok. And on the red carpet, Charlene Woodley, Alessandra Ambrosio, and Naomi Harris turn heads at the Red Sea International Film Festival in Jeddah, celebrating global cinema with show-stopping appearances. I'm Prince Tripoli. Newsline World starts now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's willing to hold national elections, but only if there's a ceasefire, after U.S. President Donald Trump suggested Kyiv was avoiding a vote during wartime. Angel Pastor reports.
Speaking before members of the 34-nation Coalition of the Willing, Zelensky said Ukraine would hold elections if Washington considers them necessary, but stressed that voting cannot take place without security guarantees.
If there is a need for elections now, there must be a ceasefire at least during election process and during voting, and this is something that must be discussed. And honestly, we think here in Ukraine that America should speak to the Russian side about this.
Zelensky also pressed coalition members to move quickly on unlocking nearly $200 billion in frozen Russian assets, arguing the funds are vital for Ukraine's security. He said Kiev's updated 20-point peace proposal, drafted with European partners, has already been submitted to Washington.
We believe this document should be approved by the United States Congress. This would mean real, solid, legally binding security guarantees for our country.
Trump recently accused Kyiv of using war to avoid elections, saying Ukraine hasn't had an election in a long time. Moscow seized on Trump's remark. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova claimed Zelensky wants the idea of elections only to maintain Western backing, asserting that he clearly wants to remain in power and has no chance of being legally re-elected.
Смотрите, уже президент США Трамп сказал, об этом говорило издание «Политика» 8 декабря, о том, что киевский режим, прямая цитата, использует войну, чтобы не проводить выборы. Это признание очевидного. Зеленский, очевидно, жаждет остаться во власти, нет никаких сомнений в этом, но при этом также нет ни у кого никаких сомнений, что у него нет шансов переизбраться легально.
Reporting for Newsline World, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
China fired back at international criticism yesterday, insisting its joint patrols with Russia are routine, issuing a safety alert for its citizens in Japan, and criticizing Japanese leaders for Taiwan remarks, warning that meaningful dialogue requires respect and equality. Carlo de la Peña will give us the details.
China is pushing back strongly on a series of criticisms and developments involving Japan. At a foreign ministry briefing in Beijing, spokesperson Guo Jiakun addressed topics ranging from joint China-Russia military flights to human rights accusations, diplomatic alerts, and rising trade tensions. Guo first dismissed concerns raised by Japan and NATO over recent China-Russia joint patrols. He insisted the flights were routine and part of an annual cooperation plan.
关于中俄联合巡航的情况，中国国防部已经发布了有关的消息，我们昨天也已经做出了回应。我想再次强调的是，此次中俄联合空中战略巡航是年度合作计划的项目，展示了双方共同应对地区安全挑战、维护地区和平稳定的决心与能力。日方没必要大惊小怪。
He then explained China's decision to issue a consular alert for citizens in Japan, following a series of earthquakes that triggered widespread evacuations.
中方领事提醒已经说得很清楚，日本近期连续发生多起地震，已造成多人受伤。日本多地已观测到海啸，超10万人接到避难指示，后续或有更大地震。 中国政府本着对中国公民安全和健康负责的态度，及时发布领事提醒，维护海外中国公民的安全，这是中国外交的应尽职责，也是外交为民的应有之义。
Beijing also took aim at Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi after her recent remarks on Taiwan sparked backlash.
高市早苗首相的涉台错误言论，不仅引起中国人民强烈愤慨。 日本国内也有越来越多客观理性的反对和批评声音，站在平等立场上理解对方开始的。高市的态度完全没办法对话，这句话道出了问题的实质。
The Chinese Foreign Ministry says it will continue issuing diplomatic alerts and responding to what it considers foreign interference as Beijing navigates rising security tensions and ongoing disputes with multiple governments. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
ECOWAS leaders convene in Abuja one day after declaring a state of emergency as tensions with the Sahel Alliance and recent co-attempts heightened concerns across West Africa. This report. Delegates from member states gathered from ECOWAS Security Council meeting on Wednesday. They took part in the opening ceremony before moving to the conference hall for speeches. The session comes amid rising friction with the Sahel Alliance, also known as AES. The group recently condemned the emergency landing of a Nigerian C-130, calling it a violation of its airspace. AES warned that future aircraft would be neutralized. The region has also seen attempted coups in Benin and Guinea-Bissau in recent weeks. Benin's attempt was contained, while Guinea-Bissau is now under interim leadership after a late November takeover.
The region is confronting intricate challenges, including unconstitutional alterations of government, security threats, terrorism, violent extremism, transnational organized crime, illicit trafficking, and recurring communal conflict.
Nigeria's representative echoed those concerns. She pointed to political instability and transitions that have stretched on several member states.
Recent years have witnessed political instability and lack of inclusivity, including forceful, unconstitutional changes of government, deliberate, prolonged transitions, and governance uncertainties and deficits in a number of member states.
ECOWAS says further consultation will determine next steps as tensions continue to rise. The bloc maintains that regional stability depends on coordinated security efforts and a return to constitutional order. Up next, a major claim for Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump touted that the U.S. strike completely obliterated Iran's nuclear sites, linking the attack to what he calls a new era of peace in the Middle East. even amid ongoing tensions from Gaza to Tehran. At a high-profile manhunt in the Philippines, former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldy Co and several co-accused have been declared fugitives and ordered to have their passports cancelled by the Sandiganbayan 5th Division. More news when Newsline World returns.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama. Nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan. Ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
U.S. President Donald Trump touted U.S. strike completely obliterated Iran's nuclear site, linking it to what he described as emerging peace in the Middle East, even as questions continued over Gaza, Israel, and regional tensions. Kai Villan will give us the details.
Your intro does.
U.S. President Donald Trump made sweeping claims today about Gaza, Israel, and Iran. During an impromptu press briefing, he claimed that the United States obliterated Iran's nuclear capability. His remarks come as tensions in the Middle East continue to evolve. Asked whether the United States has appointed a general to lead stabilization forces in Gaza, President Trump said the administration is working strongly on the issue. He went on to declare that what he called a real peace in the Middle East is now taking shape with 59 countries supposedly backing it.
We have countries that are volunteering to come in and literally take care of the whole thing. We have a great peace in the Middle East. It's never happened before.
The president was also asked about his expected meeting later this month with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump responded by highlighting what he described as a major U.S. military operation, one that he claims destroyed Iran's nuclear capability.
We obliterated their nuclear capability, their potential. And their nuclear capability would have been there in about 2 months. I think it looked like it was, some people say 2 weeks. I don't know if it's 2 weeks, but a very short period of time. They were very close to having massive nuclear weapons. And these guys went in and they did a job. And that made peace possible.
When pressed by reporters on why the administration's own national security strategy uses the phrase "set them back" rather than "obliterated," Trump insisted that the Atomic Energy Commission and even Iran had confirmed the destruction.
One person actually used the term obliterated, but Iran actually said that they probably can never go there again. They can probably never start there again. If they ever started, they'd probably choose a new site. But regardless, we took out the Iran nuclear site with great talent. No other country has
Trump further warned that if Iran tries to rebuild its missile or nuclear programs without negotiating, the U.S. is prepared to strike again.
If they do want to come back and they want to come back without a deal, then we're going to obliterate that one too. You know, we can knock out their missiles very quickly. We have great power. And we helped Israel a lot. We were shooting down the drones. We were doing a lot of things for Israel.
Trump said Iran now wants to make a deal with the United States, adding that both sides were reasonably close before the bombing he described. He argued that the country would have been better off reaching an agreement earlier. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNI News.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is warning the public after discovering a plant that is reportedly dangerous when inhaled. More details from Paul Montibor.
PDEA has issued an alert over the peyote cactus, known scientifically as Lolophora williamsi, which reportedly contains the hallucinogenic compound mescaline. Authorities say mescaline has already begun circulating in the Philippines. PDEA Director General Undersecretary Izagani Neres explains that the substance is classified under Republic Act 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. This means it can weaken a person's muscles and may even lead to loss of consciousness. Meanwhile, PDEA also notes that peyote cactus can reportedly be purchased through some online shopping platforms. Users may experience intense nausea, vomiting, enlarged pupils, headaches, muscle weakness, and impaired motor coordination. PDEA urges the public to immediately report any sightings or suspected sale of the plant in their local areas. For God of my beloved country, the Philippines, reporting on Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Former Apobicol Representative Zaldy Co and several co-accused have been declared fugitives and ordered to have their passports cancelled by the Sandiganbayan 5th Division. The anti-graft court approved the prosecution's motion to revoke the passports of 3 officials on Sunwest Incorporated. This comes after the earlier court ordered cancelling the passport of Co. The passport cancellation request includes Aderma Angeli Alcazar, Chairman and President of Sunwest Corporation, Company Treasurer Cesar Buenaventura, and Board Member Noel Cao. According to a document issued by the Sandiganbayan 5th Division, Co and the 3 Sunwest officials have now been declared fugitives from justice. This is in connection with the ongoing investigation into the graft and malversation case involving the 289 million pesos road dike project in Oriental Mindoro. The court, however, denied the prosecution's move to consolidate the graft and malversation charges against Co. Several DPWH officials and Sunwest executives connected to the alleged anomalous projects in the province. When we come back, 2 former aides of Vice President Sara Duterte dismissed allegations by a self-proclaimed bagman, calling the claims baseless and saying they have no connection to the accuser. And at the SEA Games, Team Philippines has 3 more gold medals, with 3 of the country's athletes delivering a strong medal haul on a big day in Bangkok. More news after the break.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/4 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala ang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Sa panahon ng tag-ulan, hindi lang baha at ulan ang dapat bantayan, kundi pati na rin mga sakit na pwedeng makahawa. At dahil ngayon ay rainy season, nagbabala ang Department of Health laban sa tinatawag na wild diseases. 4 na klase ng sakit na karaniwang nakukuha ng tao tuwing maulan. Ito ang W o waterborne diseases, gaya ng pagdudumi o gastroenteritis. I o influenza-like illnesses, gaya ng sipon, ubo at lagnat. L o leptospirosis, na maaaring makuha mula sa ihi ng mga daga sa baha. At D o dengue, na dala ng mga lamok. Kapag baha, mas mabilis kumalat ang mikrobyo. Kaya't ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at agad maligo matapos lumusong sa baha. Ano ang dapat gawin para maiwasan ang wild diseases? Tumutok sa weather updates. Magsuot ng kapote at bota. Siguraduhing malinis ang iniinom na tubig. Agad kumonsulta sa health center kung may nararamdamang sintomas. Mainam din gawin ang 40 o ang taob, taktak, tuyo at takip para maiwasan ang dengue sa bahay at komunidad. Maglinis, magmasid, mag-ingat. Labanan ang wild diseases ngayong tag-ulan. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
And we're back. Two former officials of Vice President Sara Duterte dismissed as laughable and senseless the allegations made by an individual claiming to be a bagman. They insisted they have no relationship, connection, or any past dealings with the accuser. Here's the report from Jason Rubrico.
Colonel Raymond Dante Lachica, former head of security for Vice President Sara Duterte, and Attorney Reynold Munsayak, who previously served as the Vice President's spokesperson, both pushed back after being implicated in the serious allegations made by Ramil Lagone Madriaga, who recently filed a sworn statement against VP Sara. In his affidavit, Madriaga claimed that he was the former bagman of the Vice President and allegedly delivered large sums of money from pogo operators and drug syndicates for the 2022 campaign. He also implicated Lachica and Munsayak in the said operation. In his official statement, Colonel Lachica said he does not know Madriaga and has no personal or professional connection with him. He also emphasized that appointments and assignments in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, especially in units tasked with providing security to national officials, undergo strict vetting processes and command authority and cannot be influenced by any private individual. Lachica stressed that he continues to perform his duties in accordance with the lawful orders, protocols, and core values of the AFP. He added that he strongly opposes the use of his name in any narrative that lacks verification and has no clear institutional basis. Meanwhile, Munsayak described the story being linked to him by Madriaga as laughable. According to him, any narrative that is to be believed must come from a credible person and contain credible information. Munsayak further stated that aside from the allegations supposedly coming from a polluted source, the accusations run counter to logic and ordinary human experience. The lawyer also insisted that he has no personal connection to Madriaga and that his only interaction with the group in the Sara is My President or ISIP was limited to Attorney Ryan Kilala. Reporting for Newsline World, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
Bulgaria's Prime Minister Rosen Zelensky announced his government's resignation just hours before lawmakers moved to vote on yet another no-confidence motion as unprecedented nationwide protests continue to escalate. More on this from Valdi Vinagracia.
Prime Minister Rosen Zelensky is seen entering a packed press room in Sofia, addressing reporters as political tensions reach their peak. For weeks, tens of thousands of Bulgarians have filled the streets, calling for the government to step down over corruption concerns and dissatisfaction with the country's political direction. International media report that the government faced its sixth no-confidence challenge this year, a vote it was expected to technically survive but not politically withstand given the scale of public unrest. Inside Parliament, ministers took their seats as Speaker Ryan Nazarian opened the session, reading the agenda for the vote of no confidence. Delegates cast their votes while others filmed the proceedings, with the tally flashing on the overhead screen. Nazarian later declared the outcome: 1 abstention and the rest in favor, an inconclusive vote overshadowed by the government's resignation.
Са казали римляните Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Ние, както заявихме нееднократно, чуваме гласа на гражданите, които протестират срещу управлението. Чуваме го осъзнато. Затова и трябва да бъдем на висотата на техните искания. Техните искания са оставка на правителството. Това е настоящия момент. За оставката глас издигнаха и млади, и стари, хора от различни етноси, от различни религии. Затова тази гражданска енергия трябва да бъде подкрепена и трябва да бъде поощрена. Това го заявих и вчера пред министрите от кабинета, това го заявявам отговорно и в момента.
The announcement marks the end of a turbulent year of Zelenskyy's fragile coalition, which struggled to move forward after public backlash forced the withdrawal of the proposed 2026 national budget. Analysts say Bulgaria's scheduled euro adoption in January 2026 remains on track, but the political climate may influence the transition period. As ministers filed out of the plenary hall, the ruling coalition left behind an atmosphere of uncertainty and a public eager for accountability. The resignation triggers a constitutional process that could lead to caretaker governance or early elections as Bulgaria navigates one of its most turbulent political moments in recent years. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Valdivina Gracia. SMNA News.
On Team Philippines continues its golden surge at the 2025 SEA Games, with Alea Finnegan, Dean Rojas, and Kim Custodio adding 3 more gold medals in a dominant Thursday run in Bangkok, while Michael Jordan and Nasser have formally ended their antitrust dispute. Carl De La Peña will give us the latest sports updates.
Paris Olympian Alea Finnegan captured the women's vault gold medal after the Philippine delegation requested a review and recomputation of her initial score. Following the reassessment, Finnegan was officially awarded the top podium spot. In Jiu-Jitsu, Dean Rojas ruled the men's 85kg Niwaza division, submitting Singapore's Iacus Ho. Rojas, who battled through a recent injury, said the victory felt like a repeat of 2019 and expressed gratitude for representing the country. Meanwhile, Kim Custodio clinched the women's 48kg gold medal, defeating Thailand's Sugun Nuchaya in the final match. Their victories follow earlier wins by Taekwondo Jean Justin Macario and the women's relay swimmers Kayla Sanchez, Shandy Chua, Chloe Isleta, and Heather White, bringing the additional momentum to the Philippines medal campaign. Meanwhile, NBA legend and 23XI Racing co-owner Michael Jordan has settled his federal antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR, bringing an abrupt end to a high-stakes case that challenged the organization's charter system. Jordan's 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports had sued NASCAR after refusing to sign the series' newly proposed charters, documents that guarantee race entries and revenue share. Both teams alleged that the structure was unfair, lacked transparency, and stifled competition for team owners, drivers, sponsors, and fans. In a joint announcement released Thursday, all parties confirmed that a settlement had been reached. NASCAR committed to issuing amendments for existing charter holders, though financial terms were not disclosed. Jordan emphasized that the lawsuit aimed to push the sport toward progress, ensuring equity and a stronger voice for teams and stakeholders moving forward. Front Row and 23XI were the only teams out of 15 who did not sign the new charters at the center of the dispute. NASCAR CEO Jim France said the agreement would help secure the long-term stability of the sport, reaffirming NASCAR's commitment to enhancing the value of its charter system established in 2016. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
After the break, ties continues to deepen. The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin and Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro held talks to expand bilateral cooperation as Caracas faces growing pressure from the West. And on the red carpet, Charlene Woodley, Alessandra Ambrosio, and Naomi Harris turn heads at the Red Sea International Film Festival in Jeddah, celebrating global cinema with show-stopping appearances. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Maging alerto at handa
tuwing may bagyo. Upang manatiling ligtas, narito ang ilang mahahalagang paalala. Manatili sa loob ng bahay. Iwasan ang paglabas, lalo na kung malakas ang ulan at hangin. Mag-imbak ng pagkain at malinis na tubig. Maghanda ng emergency kit. Manatiling updated sa lagay ng panahon. Maghanda ng mga flashlight at extra baterya. Panatilihing fully charged ang iyong cellphone. I-secure ang mahahalagang dokumento sa waterproof na lalagyan. Patayin ang kuryente, gas at tubig kung may banta ng pagbaha. Alamin ang iyong local emergency hotlines. Putulin o tapyasan ang mga sanga ng puno na maaaring mabuwal sa malakas na ulan at hangin. Lumikas agad kung inabisuhan ng mga otoridad. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa panahon ng kalamidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Maging ligtas, maging handa. Narito ang ilang paalala kung sakaling tumama ang lindol. Maghanda ng emergency kits na may lamang flashlight, pito, first aid kit, tubig at pagkain. Alamin ang emergency exits sa inyong bahay, paaralan o opisina. Habang lumilindol, magtago sa ilalim ng matibay na lamesa upang maprotektahan ang sarili sa mga nahuhulog na bagay. Lumayo sa mga bintana at mabibigat na gamit na maaaring mahulog. Kung ikaw ay nasa labas, lumayo sa mga gusali, puno o poste na maaaring matumba. Kung ikaw ay nagmamaneho, itabi at ihinto ang sasakyan at lumabas. Pagkatapos ng lindol, gamitin ang hagdan sa paglabas ng gusali at huwag gumamit ng elevator. Maging alerto sa aftershocks at manatili sa open space kung kinakailangan. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa anumang sakuna. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa, ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito, pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Russia says President Vladimir Putin has spoken with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, reaffirming their commitment to deepen cooperation across key sectors amid rising pressure on Caracas. The Kremlin confirmed that two leaders held a phone call on Thursday, accusing on the advancement of bilateral relations under a strategic partnership agreement that came into force in November 2025. In the call, both sides emphasized that joint initiatives must continue consistently and without delay. Moscow added that Putin expressed solidarity with the Venezuelan people and backed Maduro's policies aimed at protecting national sovereignty against what Russia described as growing external pressure. The Kremlin added that Putin voiced solidarity with the Venezuelan people and pledged continued support for Maduro's policies to safeguard national interests and sovereignty at a time of growing external pressure. Putin and Maduro last met in Moscow in May, when they signed the long-term cooperation pact designed to expand collaboration across all major sectors. Meanwhile, after the Putin-Maduro talks, the White House insists there's nothing to worry about, even as tensions escalate in the Caribbean. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed President Trump did not speak with Vladimir Putin recently, despite reports the Russian leader made a direct call to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Leavitt was asked if the warm exchange between Moscow and Caracas should concern Washington. Here's what she said.
It would be concerning to the president at all, no. I'll let him speak on it.
This comes after Trump revealed the U.S. seizure of a Venezuelan oil tanker, prompting anger in Caracas. Venezuelan officials blasted the move as internationally piracy, accusing the U.S. of a deliberate plan to plunder our energy resources. Interior Minister Diosdado Calver went further, calling Americans murderers, thieves, and pirates. The confrontation unfolds alongside a significant U.S. military buildup and multiple fatal strikes on what Washington calls Venezuelan narco boats. Trump has left open the possibility of land strikes, even a ground invasion. Caracas rejects all allegations of drug trafficking, accusing the U.S. of imperialism and regime change operations. On fears and a wider conflict, Leavitt insisted.
War is definitely not something this president is interested in. He's been very clear about that. He wants peace. He also wants to see the end of illegal drugs being trafficked into the United States and taking the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans across our country.
Thailand's defense ministry confirmed new military and civilian casualties, along with nearly 200,000 people displaced as fighting along the Cambodian border continues to escalate. Paul Montibon reports.
The humanitarian principle as well as transparency.
Rear Admiral Surasan Kongsari said 9 Thai military personnel have been killed and more than 120 others injured since renewed clashes began. He added that 3 civilians have also died, while over 199,000 people are now sheltering in more than 800 evacuation centers across multiple provinces. Operations are ongoing in Chat and other frontline areas with Thai grounds forces supported by Navy and Air Force units despite repeated drone attacks from Cambodian side.
The battlefields or the conflicts rather have been ongoing until today. And I like to say that to date there have been some casualties among the military officers. In total, to date, 9 military personnel have been killed and more than 120 personnel have been injured. We have seen the latest numbers of people having to be evacuated as 199,618 people across the borders, across the provinces. And today the government has provided or has prepared 849 shelter centers to accommodate all the affected victims. In terms of the casualties among the civilians, To date, 3 civilians have been killed.
Authorities have imposed a nighttime curfew in zones under the 1st Army area to protect civilians and prevent possible sabotage. The escalation follows a breakdown of the October ceasefire brokered by former U.S. President Donald Trump, with both sides blaming each other for triggering the latest violence. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montebon, SMNI News.
Hollywood stars Shailene Woodley, Alessandra Ambrosio, and Naomi Harris wowed audiences at the Red Sea International Film Festival in Jeddah. Meanwhile, Filipino Thai beauty queen Antonia Porcil is bringing national pride to the Southeast Asian Games, expressing her excitement as the Philippine flag bearer for the 2025 SEA Games opening ceremony. Blake Ann will give us updates.
Hollywood stars Shailene Woodley, Alessandra Ambrosio, and Naomi Harris turned heads at the Red Sea International Film Festival in Jeddah, captivating audiences with their stunning appearances and presence on the red carpet. The Red Sea International Film Festival, one of the region's premier cinematic events, welcomed international stars as part of its mission to celebrate global and regional filmmaking. Woodley, Ambrosio, and Harris attended various premieres and posed for photos with fans and industry figures. Fashion and glamour were on full display as the stars arrived in elegant ensembles, drawing attention from media and attendees alike. Their appearances not only highlighted the festival's growing international profile, but also celebrated its commitment to promoting film and culture in the region. Shailene Woodley, Alessandra Ambrosio, and Naomi Harris left a lasting impression at the Red Sea International Film Festival, showing that Saudi Arabia's cinematic celebration is drawing the eyes of the world. Filipino Thai beauty queen Antonia Porcil shared her excitement as the Philippines flag bearer for the opening ceremony of the 2025 Southeast Asian Games. Porcil, who represented the Philippines in various international competitions, said it was an honor to carry the national flag on such a prominent stage, highlighting Filipino pride and unity in sports. The opening ceremony, held in a spectacular display of lights, music, and cultural performances, welcomed athletes from across Southeast Asia. Porcil's presence as flag bearer symbolizes both national pride and the spirit of camaraderie that the SEA Games aim to promote. With the SEA Games underway, the Philippines is looking to showcase its athletes' skills across various sports, while Porcil's role adds a touch of inspiration and pride to the celebrations. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest showbiz.
A rare natural marvel is drawing crowds in Rio de Janeiro, where towering talipot palms have burst into bloom for the first time in decades, offering locals and visitors a glimpse of a spectacle that happens only once in a lifetime. Talipot palms, Corypha ubra culifera, have begun blooming in Rio de Janeiro, marking a once-in-a-lifetime sight more than half a century after renowned landscaper Roberto Burlemark's first planted species in Brazil during the 1960s. These towering talipot palms are rising above the park's lush vegetation, their massive flower stalks filled with hundreds of tiny blossoms standing tall over thin wide, fan-shaped leaves. Locals who witness the towering talipot palms burst into bloom say they feel fortunate to be part of a natural event that may never happen again in their lifetime. Visitors have flocked to witness the phenomenon and hope the legacy continues. Native to southern India and Sri Lanka, talipot palms can reach heights up to 30 meters, produce an astonishing display of nearly 25 million flowers during their single bloom cycle. The rare spectacle is not limited to Flamingo Park. Several talipot palms at the Rio Botanical Garden have also begun to flower, delighting residents and visitors across the city. And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the song. Guard your mind, soul, and heart, that they will remain upright in the sight of God. And for our Christmas countdown, only 13 days left more to go before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Prince Tripoli. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.